How are we looking toward working that effort at working toward that big, beautiful bill?
Well, look, I think the tax portion has been coming along just great. We expect to mark it up in the Ways and Means Committee this week. And middle class, working class, they can expect to see that their standard deduction will increase, that their child tax credits will increase, that we will deliver on our promises to reduce taxes on tipped workers, on senior citizens who rely on Social Security, as well as those who work overtime. And so it's coming along very well. And for those of us in New York, we will see some state and local tax relief, which is very significant for the people that I represent here on Staten Island and Brooklyn. And there's a lot of other great provisions which will be unveiled on Monday that people, I think, will be very proud of. And I think President Trump, in this package with our committee, has delivered on delivering relief for working class, middle class, senior citizens. And that's always been our intention and goal.
One of the things I like about you is you're a straight shooter, and I think you understand why people like Chip Roy, for example, suggest that we can't tax our way out of this. We have to cut spending at some point, one way or the other. I'm certain you agree with him. Let me share a little sound, get your reaction to that.
The fact of the matter is they need to come to the table and show us the math. I would say to my Republican colleagues, my moderate friends, you have a hard wall you've got to get through. And that is me and a bunch of others that believe that our budget needs to balance, the deficits need to go down, and that we need to be honest with the American people.
We need to be honest with the American people. As I mentioned, you're a very straight shooter. Is he right? Is he wrong? Or is it more nuanced than what Chip had to say right there?
Well, he's right, but it's how we get there. And I think there's certainly a compromise, a balance to be made here. We're going to deliver tax relief for our middle class families and senior citizens. And then we're going to find savings by cutting fraud, waste, and abuse and unnecessary overhead in our government. And then, yes, we're going to find additional savings through the reconciliation as well as the upcoming budget process to pay down our debt. But we have to understand that this $37 trillion debt is decades in the making. We're not going to get out of this in just one piece of legislation. And so let's focus on incremental wins. Let's focus on saving as much money as possible without impacting people who rely on certain programs negatively. Let's cut the waste, fraud, and abuse, and then let's not just put us on a more fiscal sane path, but let's celebrate those successes and then move forward.
No, I think what you had to say there is so important because ultimately it's about small victories. It's like anything else. You want to keep making progress, keep advancing the football down the field. You may not be able to throw a Hail Mary and throw it 80 yards down the field, but if we're getting 5 yards at a carry, I'll take that if that leads to an ultimate touchdown, to use a little football vernacular there. Let me ask you about SALT. Here's the president talking about it. Want to get your reaction.
It's only because those states are behind, very badly behind, and those people were affected very badly. And, you know, the sad part is oftentimes they were affected badly because you had bad management of those states. It's a very complex issue, but I think it's being worked out.
For those inside the Beltway, we know all about that. But for the folks who say, or I don't know, out, like you said, over in Staten Island or Brooklyn, explain what's going on with respect to SALT tax.
Well, the president is absolutely right when he says the reason we have this problem where we need state and local tax relief from the federal level is because our Democrat mayors and governors are taxing us to death. With that said, we also contribute a lot more to the federal government than we receive back, which ultimately is double taxation. And so what we're saying is really the Republican principle of allowing people to keep more money in their pockets. We are holding New York State accountable when it comes to sanctuary policies, when it comes to their terrible transit system and how they mismanage funds there. We're also looking at the fraud, waste, and abuse that has been certainly advertised in multiple newspaper articles as it relates to the Medicaid system. But with that savings, we want to provide that and give it back to the taxpayer. That is a Republican principle, to allow New Yorkers to keep more of their money instead of giving it to Kathy Hochul to waste. And so it's a balancing act here. We're not going to get everything we want. We're not going to get an unlimited cap, but we want to get something that does support the middle class. And I feel at the end of this process, we will have another victory for middle class people like the ones I represent on Staten Island, firefighters, teachers, nurses, the middle class. Nobody's looking out for the rich and the billionaires. We want to help the middle class.
You know, if you don't know the Congresswoman, you're really missing out. An excellent speaker, obviously very in tune with what's happening and fighting for regular folks. Love having you on the program. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Well, thank you. Thank you for those nice words, and happy Mother's Day, Mom.